Freedom or Death, One Nation's Descent into Civil War, written by Liberty Forge Magna, prologue, inauguration, January 20th. 2029. Elena Vargas couldn't tear her eyes from the television. 5,000 drones, black against the January sky, had descended on the inauguration like mechanical locusts. The screen showed the Capitol steps erupting in explosions, the crowd scattering, bodies falling. The camera jolted, fell, continued broadcasting from the ground, capturing legs running past, screams filling the audio feed. "This can't be happening," she whispered, fingers digging into the arm of her couch. Her husband Miguel stood frozen behind her, his coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. They're saying Thorne is dead," Elena said, her legal mind already calculating implications while her human heart recoiled in horror. "And the vice president, and most of the cabinet." The broadcast cut to a shell-shocked news anchor, face ashen. Reports confirm that President Thorne was struck directly in the initial wave. "We're getting confirmation that at least 27 members of Congress were also killed in the attack." Elena grabbed her phone, fingers shaking as she dialed her brother Carlos. The call wouldn't connect. She tried her mother next. Nothing. "The networks are overloaded," Miguel said, setting down his mug to check his own phone. "Everyone must be calling everyone." The anchor's voice cracked as she delivered the next update. "We're receiving reports that the attack originated from a facility linked to Democratic Party operatives in Maryland. This information comes directly from surviving members of the Thorne security detail." "That's impossible," Elena said, standing up. "That makes no sense." Miguel met her eyes. "You know what's about to happen, don't you?" Before she could answer, emergency alerts blared from both their phones. A text from the emergency broadcast system: "Shelter in place. Civil unrest reported nationwide. Martial law declaration pending." "We need to get supplies," Elena said, lawyer mode activating, planning, calculating. "And we need to contact your sister in Mexico. If things get bad." The sound of breaking glass from the front of the house interrupted her. Miguel moved toward the hallway. "Stay here." "No." Elena reached for him, but he was already gone. Voices. Shouting. Miguel's voice rising in protest. Then a sound Elena would hear in her nightmares forever after. 3 distinct gunshots. "Miguel!" she screamed, lunging for the back door instead of toward the sound. Training and instinct told her to survive first, that she couldn't help if she was dead too. She burst through the kitchen door into the yard, vaulting the fence in her neighbor's property just as boots thundered through her house behind her. "Found his phone," says his wife's, some immigrant lawyer bitch who worked for the Dems. Elena ran, ducking between houses. The Houston neighborhood she'd known for 7 years, suddenly alien territory. She made it 6 blocks before finding temporary shelter in an abandoned tool shed, where she huddled, hand pressed against her mouth to silence her breathing, listening to distant gunshots and sirens. Her phone buzzed. A text from Carlos. "Where are you?" "Men came to my apartment. Barely got out. They're hunting Dems." She texted back coordinates for a meeting spot, an underpass where they'd once waited out a flash flood together. Her fingers hesitated over Miguel's name in her contacts. She knew. She'd heard the shots, but she couldn't bear not to try. No answer. By nightfall, Elena and Carlos had joined a group of 12 other people hiding in the basement of a closed elementary school. All Democrats, all with similar stories. Armed men had come for them within hours of the drone attack. "They were waiting," said an older woman named Ruth, her gray hair disheveled, blood staining her cardigan sleeve. "They already had lists. Names, addresses. This wasn't spontaneous." Elena stood by a small window that provided their only view of the street. The right has been dreaming about this day for years. Elena knew corruption crossed lines. Democrats had their own surveillance scandals, data brokers selling voter info to the highest bidder. The Second Amendment people, the militias. They've been stockpiling weapons, making plans. But the drones, Carlos said, his voice hollow. They're saying we did that. We didn't, Elena said firmly. Think about it. The Democrats were completely unprepared for this. Look at us, hiding in a basement. If this was our plan, where's our organization? Our safe houses? Our weapons? A man in the corner looked up from his phone. Twitter's exploding with reports of attacks on Democratic politicians, campaign offices, even people with Biden-Harris stickers still on their cars. It's happening everywhere. Elena closed her eyes briefly. She'd spent her career fighting voter suppression laws, testifying before committees about the systematic dismantling of democratic institutions. For years, she'd warned this was coming. But even she hadn't imagined the speed, the coordination. My contact at the Justice Department isn't answering, she said quietly to Carlos. Neither is anyone from the ACLU office. Her phone buzzed with another emergency alert. Nationwide curfew in effect. All citizens must remain indoors. Suspected Democratic terrorists should be reported to authorities. Jesus Christ, Carlos whispered, reading over her shoulder. They're making it official. The basement door crashed open, and everyone flinched, several people crying out. But it was just two more refugees, a young black woman clutching a laptop bag and an older white man in a rumpled suit. They're burning neighborhoods in the 5th Ward, the woman gasped. Just whole blocks. Anyone they think voted blue. The man collapsed against the wall. I was at City Hall when the news broke. I saw the mayor dragged out by men in tactical gear. They shot him on the steps while people cheered. Elena felt something harden inside her. We need to move. They'll sweep buildings like this within a day or two. And go where? Carlos asked. West, she said. Toward the desert. Away from population centers. Ruth stood shakily. I have a sister with land in New Mexico. If we could get there. We need transportation, Elena said, already mentally cataloging what they'd need. And we need to travel at night. By the 3rd day, their group had dwindled to 7. They'd lost Ruth to a checkpoint shooting, 2 others had split off to search for family, and one had simply disappeared during a nighttime move between hiding spots. They were holed up in an abandoned gas station 20 miles outside Houston city limits, listening to a battery-powered radio. The reports were beyond comprehension. Los Angeles in flames, Chicago under siege, door-to-door searches in Philadelphia. 20 million dead, the announcer said, voice clinical and detached. Intelligence agencies confirmed the drone attack was the first stage of a planned democratic coup. Acting President Keller has authorized all measures necessary to secure the homeland. Elena turned the radio off. 20 million in 3 days. No one spoke. The number was too large to process. Carlos leaned against the counter, eyes hollow. I still can't reach Mom. Elena couldn't bring herself to respond. Their mother lived in a predominantly Latino neighborhood that had voted 78% Democratic in the last election. The images they'd seen on a digital billboard while fleeing the city had shown similar areas cordoned off with military vehicles. This isn't random, said Aisha, the young woman with the laptop. She'd barely spoken since joining them, focused instead on her computer whenever they found electricity. The patterns of attack, the ready-made lists of targets, the immediate narrative about Democrats being responsible. Someone planned this, Elena agreed. The drone attack gave them the excuse. David, the man in the rumpled suit who'd joined them at the school, looked up sharply. I worked as a data analyst for a political consulting firm with ties to both parties. The algorithms we were building, they could identify and locate every likely Democratic voter in the country, down to the bedroom they sleep in. A cold silence fell over the group. You built that? Carlos asked, voice low with anger. I didn't know what it would be used for, David said, but his eyes said otherwise. Elena was about to press him when the gas station's glass front shattered. A canister rolled across the floor, hissing white smoke. Run, she shouted, already moving toward the back door. Gunfire erupted behind them. Elena felt something punch through her shoulder, hot, then cold, then nothing. She stumbled but kept moving, Carlos's hand on her back, pushing her forward. They burst through the rear exit into darkness, the sound of boots and shouting behind them. "Split up," she gasped, the pain now blooming in her shoulder. "Meet at the backup point." Carlos hesitated. "You're hit. Go," she commanded, pushing him away. "I'll make it." He vanished into the darkness. Elena staggered into a drainage ditch, pressing herself against the concrete, hand clamped over her bleeding shoulder. Above her, flashlight beams swept the area. "Found blood," a voice called. "They can't have gotten far." Elena closed her eyes, focusing on her breathing, making herself small and still. The voices moved past her position, pursuing the others who had fled in different directions. When silence finally returned, she dragged herself from the ditch and began the long, agonizing journey toward their rendezvous point, blood seeping between her fingers, the distant glow of burning buildings lighting her way. Behind her, America was consuming itself. Ahead lay only uncertainty and the desperate hope that someone, somewhere, would survive to tell the truth about what had happened. You have listened to Prologue of the novel Life and Death by Liberty Forge Magna. Please go to Amazon.com to buy the book.